All right, you guys, thank you, thank you, thank you for those of you that are joining me on my YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. For those of you that are listening in on my podcast, Fundable by Design, I want you to know that your engagement, your participation, your comments, your shares are so very much appreciated. Okay. I love the emails. I love that you all send messages. I love that you guys are so um, just interested in this subject matter. And I just want you to know that I appreciate you. I thank you for that. And we're going to get into the conversation today. All right. I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question, and I don't want you to answer me. I don't want you to answer me. I want you to answer yourself. Okay. I want you to answer yourself because I feel that by the end of this conversation, you're going to see your nonprofit organization completely differently. You all have heard me talk about that there are three phases of the nonprofit process, right? There are those of you that are starting or thinking about starting or recently started. There are those of you that have started and are stuck. And then there are those of you that have started and are looking to scale. All right. So this conversation is going to be about you and where you are in your process. Again, I want to ask you a couple of questions, and I just want you to answer them for yourself. All right. You're going to see your nonprofit completely different. All right. Completely different. All right. Here we go. Let me ask you this. When you decided to start your nonprofit organization, you wanted to help people, right? You wanted to help people. Jen, I want to help single moms. Jen, I want to help the homeless. Jen, I want to help I want to feed veterans. Jen, I want to do a transitional house. Whatever it is that was the reason that you started your nonprofit organization, it was because you wanted to help people, right? You saw a need, you believed God was calling you, right? Gave you a vision bigger than yourself. That happens. And you knew something had to change. You weren't thinking about bylaws. You weren't thinking about donor databases. You weren't thinking about boards or governance. You were only thinking about people. Can we agree with that? Can we agree that as you look at your organization, you were thinking about people, the people that you wanted to serve, the need that you saw, how you wanted to make a difference? Most of you don't start because you love the paperwork. You start because you love the people. Can we agree? Can we agree that you started not because you love the paperwork, but because you love the people? You might have been a person that says, Jen, I want to start my nonprofit organization because I want to help people like me. Jen, I want to start my nonprofit organization because I see a need. I was a teacher, Jen, and I saw so many areas within the educational system that I thought that I could have an impact. Again, you started because you love people, right? You didn't wake up one morning saying, I can't wait to build financial systems. I can't wait to put together a strategic plan. I can't wait to build a board to help my organization. You didn't wake up saying that. You said, I want to make a difference. Can we agree? Can we agree? Let's keep going. Let me ask you another question. After you decided to start, what did you do? After you decided to start your organization, what did you do? You probably searched Google. You might have gone over to YouTube. You may have gone to Facebook and got in a Facebook group, right? Hold on one second. You might have gotten into a Facebook group You may maybe someone at one of your groups or church or a friend gave you some insight, gave you some information. You might have even spoken to another nonprofit leader. You probably got online and you searched Google, you searched chat, you searched Claude, you searched something, and you searched, how do I start a nonprofit? How do I get a 501c3? How do I get grants? How do I find board members? How do I find donors? Can we agree that in your searching, you are looking for, how do I start? How do I get my 501c3? How do I get grants? How do I get donors? Right? That's what most everyone does. Right? That's what most everyone does. Thousands of you do it every single day. Can we agree? Can we agree? Can we also agree that nobody searches, how do I build organizational capacity? Nobody. Because you don't know that's the question yet. And then something happens. You file the paperwork, you recruit a few board members, right? You get your mother, your brother, your dog, your cat, your fish. You make them board members, you put them on the board, and you get excited. You get excited, and then you start or launch the program. And then people begin depending on you, right? The program participants start showing up. God help you if the program starts growing. Now you've got a full-fledged program rolling, and expenses are now increasing. And your time begins to disappear. You're paying for everything personally. And you tell yourself, it's just temporary. It's just temporary. We'll raise money. We'll have fundraisers. We'll get donors. We'll get grants later. Can we agree that's what happens? Can we agree that's what happens? Jen, I started my nonprofit organization. I launched my program. I started running the program. I started getting excited and engaged in the program. And then now 6 months have gone by. Then a year has gone by. Then 2 years have gone by. And now you're wondering, where are the donors? Where are the grants? Why am I doing everything by myself? Why is my board not helping me? How come I can't get supporters? How come I can't find sponsors? Now you're wondering. Can we agree? Here's another question. Did anyone ever actually teach you how organizations become sustainable? When you decided to start your nonprofit organization, did anyone actually teach you how organizations become sustainable? Or did you mostly jump in and just start teaching yourself how to start one, right? You went according to Google, you went according to chat. You're thinking, oh, they said all you got to do is start a nonprofit, you can get a grant. So you doing your research, in your research, you're researching, how do I start? How do I get my 501c3? And now we're 2 years, 4 years, 6 years later, and you're doing everything by yourself. My question to you is, did anyone ever actually teach you how organizations become sustainable? Or did you mostly teach yourself on how to start one? Again, don't answer me. Just ponder that within yourself. Okay? And this is where most of you misdiagnose the problem. right? Because somebody will say to me all the time, Jen, funding is my biggest issue. Funding is my problem, Jen. My problem is I can't find donors. My problem is I can't find board members. My problem is I can't find supporters. My problem is I don't know how to find funding. That's my problem. I want us to think about something together. And you tell me if this makes sense, okay? You say my nonprofit needs funding, and that's fair. You do need funding, okay? But let's test that. Let's test if funding is really what the problem is. Let's test it. Suppose tomorrow morning, someone deposits $500,000 in your account. Would that automatically create a functioning board? Yes or no? Would that automatically create donor relationships? Yes or no? Would that build financial controls? Yes or no? Would it automatically create leadership or create systems, your fundraising systems, your donor outreach systems? No? So maybe money isn't the actual first problem. Maybe money is exposing another problem. Can we agree? I was having a conversation earlier with a client of mine, and we were talking about funding. Now, we've been going through this process of me teaching him about organizational sustainability. And we're talking about his board. We're talking about how he's choosing his board. We're talking about his budget. We're talking about the diverse streams of revenue. We're talking about his time. How much time is he have available to do this work? He needs a building. So we're talking about how the strategy of getting those buildings for his program produced. And he's saying, if I could just get the money, Jen, to pay for everything. I said, well, if you got the money tomorrow, what would you do with it? And he said, I'd get a building. I'd get a building, Jen. I said, well, how much would you need for the building? I don't know. And I'm not just talking about to get in the building. How much money would you need to maintain that building month after month after month for the next 3 years? For the next year? How much money would you need monthly for the building? And now we've got utilities, we've got water, we've got maintenance, we've got repairs, we've got furniture. I said, so if you got the money tomorrow, what would you do? Well, I would get all that stuff and then start your program. I said, how long would it take you to start the program? I don't know. I said, money's not the problem. The problem is you've not thought through how the organization is going to operate. Listen, here's a question that probably no one has ever asked you. Here's a question that probably no one has ever asked you. What must exist before funding the money can create long-term impact? I want you to think about that. What must exist before the money, the funding, can create long-term impact? Not how do I get money? How do I get the money? But what must exist before the money arrives? Now, many of you think they're going to give me the money first, and then I'll work it out later. In his example, he said, well, if I got the money, I'd be ready to put the organization together. I got to get a building. I got to furnish the building. I got to get some supplies. I got to hire staff. I got to find the people in the program. I got to do all of that. Well, how long is that going to take? Now that's program. But what about the organization? Before the money arrives, what must be put in place? Let's list it together for the organization. Now we know the program, but what about the organization? Let's list it together. All right. So the first thing is leadership. Who's going to run the organization? We need governance, right? That's a requirement of the IRS. Financial accountability. We need program outcomes. We need donor communications. We need strategic planning. We need volunteer systems. We need partnerships. We need organizational infrastructures. Those things don't happen because of money. Now, I know when you started your nonprofit organization, none of those things came to mind because all you were thinking about was the program. You weren't thinking about the organization. You weren't thinking about what needs to go into the organization to ensure that the organization can raise money to pay the expenses of the program. Those things don't just happen because money arrives or when money arrives. Money works better because those things already exist. Can we agree? That if you have a fundraising strategy, that as money comes in, you've got other money coming in to replace that money that you are consistently spending. You get the grant, you start spending the grant. But now how is money coming in to replace the money that's going out? I know nobody's asked you that. You've not thought about any of that. All you thought about was starting the program. I need money for the program. But the money doesn't come to the program. The money comes to the organization. Listen, this is why this is not your fault. This is not your fault. And this is the part that I hope that you hear. You are not stuck. You are not behind because you're not capable. That's not why you're stuck. That's not why you're behind. You're not struggling because your organization is not a good idea. No, that's not it. You're not struggling because your mission doesn't matter. You're not frustrated because your program isn't important. That's not why you're frustrated. You're frustrated because almost nobody taught you this part. Nobody taught you this part. Nobody taught you this part. You were taught how to form a nonprofit on paper, not how to build one, how to sustain one. Can we agree that that's a different conversation? You were taught how to form your nonprofit organization on paper. You were not taught how to build one, how to sustain one, how to lead one, how to grow one. That's a different conversation. Listen, I have people tell me this every week. People say to me, Jennifer, why didn't anybody teach me this before I started? I wish someone had taught me how to do fundraising. I wish someone had taught me how to manage the board. I wish someone had taught me how to oversee the strategic plan. I wish that someone had taught me that the organization is supposed to bring in money. I didn't know. I wish someone had taught me the diverse streams of revenue. I didn't know. And every time I hear that, my heart breaks because I know exactly how they got there. How'd they get there? Imagine that before you ever launched your program, someone sat down beside you and said, let's build the organization first. Let's identify your donors and funders. Let's build donor confidence first. Let's build governance. Let's understand what the roles, the responsibilities of the board is as it relates to raising money. Let's talk about what the organization needs to provide to those ideal board members so that when they come in, there is expectation set, there is development provided, and there is oversight and guidance to ensure that the board is able to help the organization raise money. Would that not have helped? If someone had taken you by the hand and said, let's build fundraising infrastructure. Let's make sure that you understand where all the streams of revenue come from. Let's make sure that you have a plan and the systems in place to bring money in on a consistent basis. Let's build sustainability and then launch your program. How different your journey would have been. How much money would you have saved? How much stress? How many sleepless nights? How many times would you have questioned whether you should continue? I hear it every day. People say to me, Jen, I just want to give up. Jen, I just want to give up. This is so hard. I'm overwhelmed. I didn't know that it involved all of this. I didn't know, Jen, how much time it actually takes to run the organization. I didn't know. I've never run a nonprofit organization. I've never worked in a nonprofit. I had no idea all that goes into running it. And as a result, it is costing you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every year. Every month that your organization is not bringing in money, every month that your organization is not bringing in the money to sustain that program, to grow that program, to scale that program, you're hurting your organization. I didn't know, Jen. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know what I needed to have in order to teach, to train my board. I didn't know what I should have put in place along with the program to ensure that the organization has the capacity, has the ability, has the structure to raise money from the beginning. I didn't know. Because what you were taught is start a nonprofit, you can get a grant. Start a nonprofit, you can get funding. And you actually might think that the program and the organization are the same thing, and they're not. They're not. Listen, everything that I've talked about today leads to one conclusion. If you don't have an organization that has the capacity to raise money, the capacity to build relationships, the capacity to understand roles and responsibilities of your board, without the capacity to be able to cultivate donors and supporters and contributors, without understanding where money comes from in the beginning, then every month that you're operating, you're just adding more and more expenses, more and more expenses. Now, you don't know that because no one told you. You don't know that because no one taught you. You don't know that because you don't have experience in it, but now you're stuck and you're learning backwards. Now you've had your organization 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 9 years more, and now you got to circle back and figure out, how do I get a grant? How do I raise money? You're online searching. How do I get donors? How do I find funders? How do I find board members? You're learning backwards. You've learned backwards because no one took you by the hand and told you this up front. That your organization's capacity comes before funding. It's not your program that raises the money. It's not your program idea that gets you the grant. It's not what you want to do that's going to cause a grant funder to write you a check. No, it's your organization's capacity. Do you have a plan? Do you have a strategy? Do you have leadership? Do you have a team? Do you have accounting? Do you have governance? That's your organization. Listen, and it's not because the money isn't important, and it's not because the money's not available. It's just that funding, the money, follows the confidence that the donor, the funder, the supporter, the contributor have in the organization, not your program, not your but see, that's not what you've been taught. You were taught, start a nonprofit, you can get a grant. You know what? You can get a grant for that program. You know what? If you go to the government will give a whole lot of money for programs. And you're thinking all I got to do is have a piece of paper. All I got to do is have a program and I can raise money. And that's not true. That's why you're struggling. That's why you learn backwards. That's why you're online looking for money. How do I find donors? How do I get sponsors? When that should have been answered for you, when that should have been taught to you, when that should have been shown to you before you started the expenses of that program. Now you're paying for everything, money going out, money going out, money going out, no money coming in, money going out, money going out, and you can't figure out why. Because no one taught you. No one showed you. You don't know what you don't know. And what you've been taught or teaching yourself is costing you. Am I right? It's costing you. It's costing you. Listen, this is why I created the capacity framework, not to make nonprofit organizations more complicated, but to finally teach what has been missing. What you all are struggling with right now is something that you were not taught. And the evidence that you were not taught is now we don't have funding. I don't know how to raise it, Jen. No one taught me. I didn't know there were several streams of revenue. No one showed me that. No one told me that. No one taught me how to get donors, funders, how to find my ideal donors. No one taught me what to say or how to say it. No one taught me that. No one showed me how it works. No one taught me how to put together the plan and how to implement and execute the plan. No one taught me how I'm supposed to be able to train my board. No one told me that. And now you're stuck. And you're looking and saying it's funding. Funding is my biggest challenge. No, the challenge is you were not taught how to raise it. You were not taught how to build the organization for sustainability. You were taught just start. Just start. Just start. You'll figure it out later. Just start. Get your name out there. Just start. But no one said that after you start, you got to sustain. No one said that after you start, what's next? And many of you, with no knowledge, no experience, no one taking you by the hand, no one teaching you, now you're stuck. Listen, if you found yourself agreeing and saying, yeah, that's me. I did that. That's exactly what happened to me. Yep. I started and then I didn't know what to do next. I started and I started paying for everything out of my pocket. I started and I didn't know how to get out of that cycle. I started and I couldn't find board members to help me. I started because I didn't know how to raise money. I started because I didn't have any experience of managing a board. I started not knowing what to expect. And now I'm stuck. Listen, you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. It's sad to say that most of you were never taught. You weren't taught. And that's why you're struggling. You weren't taught. You weren't shown. It wasn't explained to you. You didn't have anyone to ask. You're just kind of making it up on your own. I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to learn. Take the step. Take the step. I'm going to encourage you by saying, listen, I want you to complete a free Capacity Organizational Readiness Assessment. All right, it's free. And I want you to really take a look at your organization, because the only way to fix it is to know what's broken. The only way to fix your organizational issues, that's the funding issue, that's the donor issue, that's the budgeting issue, right? That's the board issue. The only way to fix that is to know exactly what's missing. That is what my capacity organizational readiness assessment will give you. I also want to invite you to join my free fundable nonprofit training series. It's an 8-week series. And this week on Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central, 4 Pacific, we're going to be talking about funding. We're going to be talking about fundraising in this particular training. It's going to be on Zoom and it's free. Okay. Awareness is the beginning. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? And so the only way to recognize and to be aware of what is wrong is to be aware of what's wrong. All right? Awareness is the beginning, but your organization changes through action. And if after going through these resources, you're ready to intentionally build your organization with guidance and accountability, then I'm happy to have a conversation with you. All right? That's where we move beyond the idea and begin building a structure, the systems, the governance, the fundraising infrastructure, the leadership capacity that makes organizations fundable and sustainable. The program is not what makes the organization fundable or sustainable. The program is nothing but an expense. It is the organizational structure. It is the systems, it is the governance, it's the financial infrastructure. It's your leading the plan that makes the organization attractive to a donor, a funder, a supporter, and contributor, not your program, not your passion, not what you started, and not a piece of paper. I'm going to leave you with one thought. I want to leave you with one thought. You probably started your organization because you wanted to change someone's life. And that's a beautiful beginning. You know how we can romanticize something, right? Jen, I just want to help people. Jen, I just want to make a difference. Jen, because of what happened to me, I want to help other people that's just like me. We can make it sound so beautiful and so romantic. I just want to change a life, Jen. But changing one life today and building an organization that can change thousands of lives over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that's not the same assignment. One requires compassion. Jen, I'm compassionate. I just want to help. The other requires compassion and knowledge about how to construct, how to position, how to present this organization to the community to be attractive to them. Listen, my mission isn't simply to help you raise money. My mission is to transform how you as a nonprofit leader are taught to build nonprofit organizations. Because I believe the greatest challenge facing nonprofit organizations today isn't lack of passion, it's an education gap. It's an education gap. I don't know how to raise money, Jan. I don't know how to get board members. I didn't know that there were 8 streams of revenue. I don't know what to do first. I don't know how to put together the budget. I don't know how to find all of the things that you are missing is because of an education gap. And it's only when you close that gap that you stop asking, how do I get funding? And you begin asking, How do I build an organization worthy of trust of the donors, of volunteers, of partners, and the communities that we serve? Listen, when you stop asking, how do I get funding? And begin asking, how do I position my organization so that my donors, my funders, my board members, my partners, the community that we serve will trust it with money? That's the question that changes everything. Because capacity, knowledge, clarity, structure creates funding. Because your donors and your funders are not giving their money to a broken organization. An organization that does not have structure, that does not have systems, that does not have a plan, that does not have leadership. Capacity creates funding. Listen, and when I teach leaders how to build organizations, not just file paperwork, you don't just improve fundraising. You strengthen your community for generations. Money is not your problem. Money is not your problem. The problem is you don't know how to raise it. The problem is you don't know how to find donors and supporters. The problem is you don't know how to manage that so that you can explain it to your board, to your supporters. Money is not the problem. The problem is I don't know how to raise it. I don't know what to do first. And that's what you're online right now searching. How do I raise money? How do I get donors? How do I get funding? Morning, noon, and night. That shows you have an education gap. That's not a money gap. That's an education gap. When you're ready to close that gap, I want you to begin with my organizational readiness assessment. I want to give you feedback. I want to present to you some areas within your organization that's preventing you from building the trust, the credibility, the infrastructure to raise the money. The money is not the problem. You got to get your organization squared away before a donor, a funder, or supporter will trust the organization with their money. All right? My name is Jennifer. I am your nonprofit expert, here to teach you not just how to start a nonprofit, but how do you sustain it long term so that that program can be delivered and funded long term. Thank you all for listening. I'll see you next time.